Do you believe in God? I've gotten this question from I don't know how many people over the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I decided to just try to make a video here explaining how I explain to these people. I hope it helps you. Yes, it is scripted. I'm 77 years old. I have to do that in order to get make sure that I get all my thoughts and stuff in here. So let's go with this. I got a message recently that I haven't been able to stop thinking about. Someone asked me, do you really believe in God? Because I've been praying for healing for a long time and nothing has happened. I want to answer that honestly because that question deserves more than a quick reply. So yes, I believe in God. And let me tell you why. Because I was once in the same place you are now. I was in church one day praising God when a voice in the back of my head said, "That's not God, that's just you." I listened to that voice, and after another 2 or 3 services, I walked away from the church entirely. That decision led to 15 years of searching for something I couldn't even define, 15 years of misery looking for something I couldn't name. At the lowest point of those 15 years, I was sitting in the woods. I was supposedly deer hunting. I had my back against a tree looking out along a bench on the side of a hill. It was mostly cloudy, and I looked up and asked out loud, God, are you really real? You have to understand, I was at the lowest point of my life. I was miserable. I was supposed to be deer hunting, but I wasn't really deer hunting. I was talking to God. God, are you really real? The moment that I asked that question, and I mean the very moment, it was instantaneous. A beam of sunlight broke through the clouds like a spotlight. You ever seen that happen? Just as clouds are moving across, shafts of sunlight will be uh, going down. It was like that, only it was just one, and it was just like a spotlight. And standing right in the middle of that spotlight was a little deer. Now you have to understand, I was looking right at that spot, and I didn't see the deer until God's light shined on the deer. That was the answer to that question. The deer was looking at me whenever I saw it. Tears started going down my face. It was probably 100 yards across that bench, and that deer walked slowly towards me. A little doe, little female deer. She was about half grown. And as she was walking towards me, she never took her eyes off of me. And the closer she got, the harder I cried. And by the time she got up to me, about 3 feet away, really close enough to touch, I was bawling hard. I mean, crying with everything that was in me. And in my mind, I was saying, Lord, forgive me. I know you're real. But he showed me a sign. That was a sign that clicked with me. That might not make any difference to you, but it clicked with me. I've never been in a place of doubting God again. Oh, I've had my doubts. I've had my down days and stuff. But in all these years since then, I have never asked the question, God, are you really real? So when someone asks me, do you really believe? I don't answer from a book. I answer from a hillside in the woods where God showed up in a way I couldn't argue with at the lowest moment of 15 years of searching. He is real. He answers prayer. And he has a way of showing up in a way that you personally will understand. I've also been a pastor for a long time. I've held hands with people who prayed with everything they had and didn't get the answer they were asking for. So I'm not going to give you a neat little answer all wrapped up in a bow. I want to share something else that happened to me. I was in the hospital one time with appendicitis. First time I'd ever been in a hospital. I hadn't even figured out how to use that little button that they give you. If you're hurting real bad, we'll press this button and you'll get medication. I don't know whether that actually does that or it's a mind thing. But in that moment, I was hurting and confused, and I asked God, why am I here? Why did this happen to me? And I heard a voice in the back of my head said, I have you where I can talk to you now. And that stopped me. I just laid there for a minute thinking about that. And then it hit me. Because he was right, I'd been too busy to listen for that still small voice. Life had gotten loud and full, and I'd crowded him out without even realizing it. And life is busy. We all get busy. It took a hospital bed to slow me down enough to hear him. Don't let that happen to you. You got to be concentrating on his voice. His voice is the only thing that's going to lead us out of all this. The lesson stayed with me for the rest of my life. I'll still get too busy sometimes. I won't pretend otherwise, but I've made a habit every night when I lay down to sleep of thanking God for the day, whatever kind of a day it was, good or hard or somewhere in between. I thank Him for bringing me through it. And then I ask if I was too busy to hear your voice. Please give me a dream or a vision tonight so I don't miss what you're trying to say. Folks, that's important. How important is God's voice to you? It helps you every day. That prayer changes things for me. Now, when somebody's struggling to believe, when someone has been praying for healing and starting to wonder if God is even there, I've noticed it usually comes from a few places. Constant pain. They can be either physical or mental. They just wear you down. It could be grief, the loss of a loved one. Why do they have to die? Why do children have to suffer? Those are real questions. I've been asked every one of them. And I want to be honest, when you're in that kind of pain, telling you that God works in times and seasons is not very comforting. I know that. It's true, but it doesn't really answer that. But here's what I keep coming back to. The book of Hebrews says now faith is. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, now. Present tense. And just a few verses later, I think it's in the 6th verse, it says it's impossible to please God without faith, because the one who comes to God must first believe that He is. He is right now in the middle of your pain, in the middle of your unanswered prayer. The problem, and I say this gently because I've been here myself, is often not that God has disappeared. It's that our focus has shifted. Pain does that. Grief does that. It's human. It doesn't make you a bad person or a weak believer. It makes you someone who's hurting. Think about Job. He lost everything, and I mean everything. Said, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. That's not a man whose circumstances were good. That's a man whose focus held even when everything else fell apart. He lost everything. I'm not asking you to pretend your circumstances are good. I'm asking you to consider where your focus is. And sometimes the simplest way back is not a theological argument. Sometimes it's just go outside, listen to the birds, look at the sky, whether it's sunny or cloudy. There can be beauty in both. Smell the flowers, smell fresh cut grass. Every one of those things points to a designer, a God who didn't have to make the world beautiful, but did anyway. He's still there right now in the small things you might have stopped noticing. And if you're hurting today and you reach out and ask this question, that tells me your faith is more alive than you think. Doubt and faith can live in the same heart. I know because they've lived in mine. Keep talking to Him. I'll add, keep listening to Him. Even if it sounds more like an argument than a prayer, He can handle it. He handled mine. Talk to you next time.